and I've switched out pasta. There we go. I have switched out um, pasta for sweet potatoes and stuff like that, and it's really done well for me. So we've got those sweet potatoes. We've got some sweet onion, bell pepper. We have some apple, which I've just got a sack of apples right down here. So we're gonna pull a nice apple. Oh, I've already got one out. There we go. Also, we've got a little maple syrup, we've got a little cinnamon, a little salt and pepper, and we'll talk about using those salty, sweet, and savory ingredients to increase the flavor at the end of cooking. So, does anybody have any questions about what we're doing so far, what we've done in the past, and anything that's going to help us to move forward? So, do you all have any questions at this point?
No.
No? Okay. Well, let's rock and roll. First thing we're going to do after we've gathered up all of our things, all of our equipment, we've run through our recipes, we have our mise en places, we're going to go over the knife skills as we cut the sweet potatoes, the onions, and bell peppers. And the vegetables and fruits have different cooking points, meaning they're going to cook at different stages, different times. So to add everything in at once is not going to be the best thing for us. We want to add the hard things first and then move on. So first, we're going to add sweet potatoes. Then we will do the onion. We will do the sweet potatoes or the sausage, bell peppers, and apples. And at the end of about a half hour's worth of cooking, it's going to be nice and caramelized and ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to get my skillet on medium heat. Because as we know, medium heat's a great place to start the saute process. If the pan is got too little heat, the food's just gonna weep out and it's gonna get really soggy. If it's too high, it's gonna burn without cooking through. Okay, so medium heat is where we are gonna start. And I placed about a tablespoon of olive oil in the bottom of the skillet, and it's just enough to cover the bottom. And I do like to use this squeeze bottle to measure out how much oil I'm using, but it's just enough to cover the bottom of the skillet. It's not going to be swimming. The olive oil does have added health benefits, but we are using it to cook into brown, okay? Not to make things greasy or kind of soggy with oil. So be very mindful about how much fat you add to the pan. If you don't have olive oil, vegetable oil would be fine. A little butter would be fine too. But again, just maybe a tablespoon to start out with and see where that takes you. So let's put this recipe over to the side. Cheers to everybody out there. I've got my unsweetened iced tea, as you know I love. I've been cooking in my friend's barbecue restaurant. It's about 110 degrees in his kitchen right now with all the heat and the smokers going and all that stuff. And ice water has been getting me through. So I really want you all to think about that during the day as you are dealing with the heat, doing yard work, doing stuff in the house, or doing stuff at work. Have some nice ice water nearby. A lot of people subsist on, diet sodas, sodas, juice, and things like that. But really, we want to cut all those sugary drinks out and really just think about water, unsweetened iced tea, and things of that nature. Just really natural, simple, and inexpensive things to quench your thirst. If you do want a tasty beverage at some point in the day, I always say treat yourself, but please be mindful that you can't drink diet sodas all day. You can't drink juice all day. You really have to think about how much water you're drinking, and after a while of that, you'll kind of grow fond of the water, and it does really, I think, quench your thirst very nicely. So we have our sweet potato right here. We have our cutting board with a wet rag underneath, as you guys can see that. We have our knife that we have used our sharpening steel to keep nice and sharp. Straighten that blade before and after every single use, making sure we're washing and drying and putting our knives away in a safe place. This medium heat's working very well for us. Now we have an oblong vegetable. The first thing we're going to do is take our knife with control and support. And what's this called, ladies and gentlemen, everybody? What's this called?
Bear claw.
And what sound does the bear claw make?
Ah.
Very good. So use that bear claw to protect your fingers. And now, since this is such a weird shape, I'm going to cut it in half. Okay? So now I have two sections of sweet potato. Can you all see that? Awesome. And we cut that, anything that's a weird shape, cut it in half and make it more manageable for yourself, okay? We're going to start at the top, just like we did the fruit. We're going to cut right down on that sweet potato. Think about a butternut squash or a large watermelon, something of that nature, especially the butternut squash, which has different shapes to it. Cut it down into size, into more manageable size, and then get to chopping. Flip it over, just like that. All right, and always compost your scraps if you can. I got a little compost bowl going over here, so we'll do the same thing over here. Just bring that knife down, and every time we use the knife, we'll get more strong, more confident, okay? Beautiful. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to cut planks. So we're going to cut down on that potato about every ½ inch. Okay, now we have those planks. With these planks, we can put these on the grill. We can put them under the broiler. We can bake these. We can also cut them into batons for sweet potato French fries. So that's exactly what we're looking at right there. And then from those batons, we can cut ½ inch pieces and cut our dice, okay? So we start plank, we go to batons, and then we turn it around and we go to dice. Very, very simple as we can possibly make it. What do they say? Keep it simple, silly. I think they say something different than that, but our class today, keep it simple, silly. So we're going to take this, and we've got a nice light sizzle in that skillet. That's what I'm looking for. We don't want it frying up. We don't want to make a ton of noise. Just a little sizzle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. Cut right down. And we'll cut our planks this way, just so it's so big. So we'll cut down this way. And take your time. You have to use a little strength. And the strength will come from your shoulder. Okay? It won't come from your wrist. It'll come from your shoulder. Down. And then we cut our batons. There we go. And just separate those pieces and take your time, okay? It doesn't all have to be done right now. I think, I get myself caught in that where I have a lot of things going on and dinner needs to get on the table, and I think I have to get everything done at once. And in reality, if dinner takes a couple extra minutes to get on table, I don't think anybody's going to complain about that, or anybody that did not cook that dinner. But please, as we're starting these fundamentals, take your time. If it takes a little longer, it takes a little longer, and that is perfectly okay with me. I don't want you to hurt yourself because you were trying to speed things up when you didn't have to. All right. So we're chopping these up. Does anybody have a air fryer? I know we've talked about air fryers, but is anybody utilizing an air fryer at home? Yeah? Okay. I find if you take these batons of sweet potato and you cover them in maybe a tablespoon of oil, a little salt and pepper, and you throw them in that air fryer, they make really excellent sweet potato French fries. Better than if you did them in the oven. Okay? I find those to be pretty good. I'm not a sweet potato fry fan when they're fried, but I find them to be a really good substitute while we are, cooking at home and air frying. So we talk about sautéing for a moment. I just want to show you. Sauté means to jump in French. So we're going to tilt the pan forward. We're going to pop it up and back. So it's up and back. And it's all on the wrist, okay? So we just pop it up and back. And you can practice this by taking a skillet and putting some Cheerios in there and just giving it a practice, okay? And if something falls on the ground, you just clean it up or you let the dog pick it up. But it's no big deal, okay? It's a practice time. And really, if you can want to throw some potatoes or some onions in there and do some potatoes O'Brien for breakfast, or just throw your sweet potatoes in and get those cooking, It's a great way to practice that. And the reason we saute is because once I start putting a spoon in here, which I'll do a little bit later on, but once I start putting a spoon in here, it's going to break the food up as it gets soft. So if you can saute, it's a very gentle way of tossing the food around, okay? Now we have an onion. We have our root side, which is the dirty side, and then the flour side. And we're just going to chop a little bit off the flour side and chop a little bit off the root side. Slice it down the middle. And peel the outside layer off. And this is any kind of onion you have. I am not picky. A red onion or a Vidalia onion, a white onion, a yellow onion is all good. So we have our root side on the bottom, and we have our flour side over here. Take our knife with control and support, and we're going to cut about 1.5 inches into the onion, keeping the bottom side uncut. And now we're going to do a transverse cut through the previous cuts that we've made to have a small dice, okay? And again, this takes practice. So we take our knife and we cut through. Don't cut all the way through. Turn it a quarter turn. Do a transverse or a cut across the previous cuts you've made, and you're good to go. This is sizzling really nicely, so we're going to toss this up and continue with our cutting. Are there any questions so far about what we're doing?
No.
Okay. Bell pepper. We did this for our salad. These are the lobes of the bell pepper. Okay, there's 3 on this. Sometimes there's 4. We're going to take our knife at the top and cut down into the lobes. Okay, and then we trim that bottom portion off. And now we can do slices. You can throw these on pizza or salads or dip them in some hummus or some salsa. Really great thing to do. I really enjoy that. My kids really enjoy a big plate of bell peppers to enjoy at dinner or a snack. And then we turn those around again and we cut across for our dice. If your knife is not chopping through it on the skin side, flip it over to the flesh side, okay? It's much easier to cut through the flesh side than it is through the skin side. Same with tomatoes. You'll find it a whole world easier. All right, so let's cut through these. We've got a great sizzle going on over here. Remember, if it starts to burn, just turn the heat down. If it looks like it's kind of weeping water out and steaming, turn the heat up, but just do it slightly, okay? The small little adjustments to the heat are going to be what gives you success in this meal, okay? Now, please remember, we have our knife. We want to wipe it off. Put a rag on the top and wipe out, okay? Cleaning up our board. Making sure it's clean for the next round. Did anybody take a look at their cutting board at home and see that maybe it wasn't made out of the proper material?
Did anybody look at their cutting board to see if it's made out of proper material?
No.
Maybe it was made out of glass or stone or something? If not, that's totally cool.
We all have wood.
Okay, I love it. If you guys want to clean those wood cutting boards, there's several ways of doing it. The first is to take this nice jug of vinegar right here and just soak it and give it a good scrub. After that, clean it up with some soap. If you want to take it one step further, you can get like an orbital sander or some sandpaper and just sand out the board. What that's going to do, it's going to remove a layer, maybe 1/8 of an inch at the end of the day. But in that 1/8 of an inch, you've got slices into the board that you're going to even out. There's also, if you cut meat and stuff on the board, there's going to be oil that's trapped in there. Okay. In fact, I can take my knife and really like scrape the board, and there's a little bit of oil that's on my knife right now. You might be quite disgusted if you do that at home, but I know I cut a lot of vegetables on here. Sometimes I cut a chicken, I wash it. But giving it a sand maybe once every 3 months, a good scrub with some vinegar and some soap and water will get your board rocking and rolling. And if you want to put a little bit of mineral oil on it to keep it from cracking, I think that's a really cool thing as well. Okay, so toss this up. The sweet potato is already starting to cook really nicely right now. It's already starting to cook and get soft and start to release the sugars. And as we slowly cook this, we are caramelizing the natural sugars that are found in all of the vegetables that are in here, especially this apple that we're going to cut up. So you'll start to see this, if I cook this for an hour or two at a really low heat, you're going to start to see it get really thick and sticky. And that's literally the natural sugars that are already in the fruits and vegetables. We'll cook this for another maybe 20 minutes or so, and I think we'll get some good color on it as is. So we've got an apple. Any kind of apple you have is fine. We're going to slice down the middle. We're going to slice it into quarters. And then we are going to take our knife at a 45-degree angle and slice out that core. Again, something we've done in the past. And then we'll do it again. And we'll do it every single time we chop an apple. If you want to, you can nibble on the core. That's what I do when I give it to my kids. And now we're just going to slice this apple down the middle to make 8 equal pieces. And we'll slice these into small dice from there. Okay? Using the bear claw to measure our cuts to make sure all of our cuts are uniform. We want cuts to be uniform so they cook the same, they taste the same, and they look the same. Okay? Looking really, really good. If you like that sour green apple, which I'm a big fan of, throw it in there. If apples are on sale or you got a bushel of apples from a neighbor, throw it in there, okay? I'm all about utilizing the food that is around you to make great stuff. Sometimes you got to go out and buy something fancy, but most of the time you can make really great food with the stuff that is just lying around the house or at the local market, okay? So let's let this do its thing. I'm going to add a small pinch of salt. It's probably 1/8 of a teaspoon, and a little bit of pepper. Fresh ground if you can do it, you can pull it off. And we'll give this a toss. Again, saute. Popping it up in the air, nice and gentle, okay? So we will let that continue to cook. And now I want to talk about the protein that we're going to put in here. I've got this sweet apple chicken sausage. It is organic from Giant. It costs about $5 for 6 links, which is pretty good. Pretty good cost. You can have this for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I think would be really, really wonderful. What I like about this, over a pork sausage, which I enjoy from time to time as well, 1 link is 90 calories, and that's 3 grams of fat. Okay? It has a bit of sodium, which is something we do have to watch out. If there was a low sodium version, I would probably go for that. But just based on 90 calories, 3 grams of fat, and how much protein. Let me check on protein real quick. Let's open this up, because that's a big thing for me, is getting, we've got 14 grams of protein. So for calories and fat to protein, this is really, really good. Very, very good stuff. Now, we talk about substituting, full fat pork sausage to a chicken sausage. Is the full fat pork going to taste better? Sure. Is it going to make it greasier? Absolutely. Is it going to add at least 10 grams of fat and probably 200 calories? Yes, guaranteed. So, as we talk about starting a healthier lifestyle and just kind of making these changes where we can, I think this is a great place to start because you still have something meaty. You've got something with all the flavor, but you're just chopping out fat and calories on easy, simple things, okay? Plus the fact that you're going to eat all these vegetables and fruits with this, I think you're rocking. So we're going to cut this into quarters and then cut it into small dice. in working in a barbecue restaurant, I see a lot of pork. Pork is extremely fatty. It is just rotten with fat, my friends. And I started noticing if you're going to do barbecue over the summer, that pork is pretty good, but it makes you very lethargic. It's so much fat. And I found that doing barbecue chicken is a great alternative to that because it's still meaty. It's got the seasonings. It's got the flavor. If you even wanted to do a kind of a lean pork loin or pork loin roast, trimming off the fat, I think that's also a really great way over using, a pork butt or something like that. Okay, so just think about that as you're making your barbecues, especially this weekend. Chicken's a great way to go. Pork loin roast as well. Very positive things. You plank up some of those vegetables. You got zucchinis, you got onions, bell peppers, sweet potatoes. Throw them on the grill, and nobody's gonna bat an eye about getting a big platter of roasted vegetables or some nice grilled chicken or pork loin on there. I think it's a very positive thing. All right, so my water is boiling back here. That looks wonderful. Let's talk about adding seasonings. We added our salt and pepper to this. Slowly caramelizing, looking really, really good. And at this point, we can add a little bit of cinnamon. So when we're marinating our meats, we want to think about using herbs, using vinegars and lemon juice, and using spices that don't add any calories. So if you want to do, if you guys like Indian food or tandoori, you can buy tandoori spices, but it starts out with cinnamon and nutmeg and turmeric and garlic and onions and ginger. Huge flavor, very low in calories, okay? We talk about if we want to do a Greek or Mediterranean, we add lemon, rosemary, oregano, garlic, salt, pepper, and a little olive oil, okay? Again, very big flavor, very low on the calories besides the olive oil. If you're into doing, a Chinese inspired or Asian inspired, some low sodium soy sauce, garlic, ginger, onions, jalapenos or chili flakes can add big flavor without adding so many calories, okay? Very, very good. Even a barbecue seasoning has smoked paprika, salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of allspice and cumin, chili powder. It has a pinch of brown sugar in there, but I think that should be negligible for how much meat you'll be seasoning. But again, all of those seasonings have very little calories besides the brown sugar and really, really big flavor. If you want to add a little vinegar to that and some apple juice or apple cider vinegar, you can get some big, big flavors out of that without adding so many calories. All right? So I'm already starting to smell that cinnamon. You could add nutmeg to this. You could add pumpkin pie spice as well. Looking really, really good. I'd say we've got another 15 minutes on this. It looks like it's getting a little bit dry. So if it gets a little dry, I can give it just a little sprinkle of olive oil, and that's it. Give that another toss. So again, you don't want it swimming, but you also don't want the skillet to be dry as well. So at this point in time, what I'm going to do is transfer this back over here, and I'm going to bring my poaching water up because I want to talk about poaching as a way to cook your food in a healthy way, add flavor as well, but also make it really, really easy and inexpensive for you. So we're going to put this back over here on this skillet. I've got a pot over here. This is some boiling water, and it has about 1/3 of a cup of vinegar in there, okay? And the reason I add vinegar is it's going to help to congeal the egg whites. As we put it in, the acid will help them to firm up, okay? Also, it's going to help to flavor everything. So I think it's really, really important because you want to add flavor, but you don't want to add calories, okay? And we talked about my vinegar. This is a lot of vinegar. This costs about $3 at Costco, okay? And what I love about that is I can do cleaning, I can do flavoring, I can do poaching, I can do all kinds of good stuff. Um, but $3 for the bottle, I can clean this. I can clean, mold in the fridge, all kinds of stuff. Clean out the microwave for pennies. So a big bottle of vinegar is really, really cool. All right, so let me move over here, and I'm gonna grab my little cup I thought I got out. There we go. We'll just dump that over there. We need a little cup, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to take our egg, we're going to lightly tap it on a flat surface, and then open it up into this small cup. All right? We're going to set that aside. I have 2 eggs to do that with. There we go. Looking good. Nice and caramelized. Now, we've got this water over here, and we want to do poaching. Poaching is a French technique where you take water and flavoring agents. So it could be a little pinch of salt. It could be bouquet garni, which is bay leaves and thyme and parsley. It could be garlic. It could be white wine or a stock. And we add just enough water to cover the protein. So if you think about poaching chicken in a skillet, you would place your liquid, about 1 inch of liquid, put your protein in there where it's kind of poking out of the top. It could be salmon. And then you put a lid on it, and then you put it on a skillet or in the oven on kind of like medium-low heat. So the water is at about maybe 190, 180 degrees, and the protein is just resting in it. If you have too much liquid, the flavor of the protein, whether it's fish or chicken or eggs, will be diluted. If you add just enough, and it kind of steams and sits in there, it will come up to temperature, kind of like sous vide, where it will come up to temperature, but it won't overcook, okay? So it's a really gentle way of doing things. But for poaching eggs, it's a really neat method because it's a very healthy method. If I have a large enough pan, I can cook 20 eggs at a time. I can make them in advance, keep them in cold water in the fridge, and then just heat them up in some simmering water for a minute when it's time to throw them out for a party, okay? Or I can make these for my guests or for my family at the last minute after this is finished and my toast is ready to go. You can do a lot of neat stuff with poaching. But I just want you to think about this. When you get Eggs Benedict at a restaurant and it costs $20, the reason it costs $20 is somebody has to sit there and poach the eggs. Somebody's got to whip up that hollandaise. So it's really the labor that you're paying for. Now, the first part of poaching eggs is we have to bring our water up to a full rolling boil, which is 212 degrees. After that's done, we're going to turn it down until the water is just kind of moving around, kind of really lightly simmering. And that's going to be at about 180 to 190 degrees, okay? So let's bring this up to temperature, and then we will bring it down to make sure it is the right temperature. Now, if you had a thermometer, you could stick it right in there, and that would be perfectly fine. And in fact, I think I do have a thermometer over here, and we're going to do just that. So this is just a candy thermometer. It's not boiling yet. It's lightly simmering. And I'm getting up to about 175, 190, 200 degrees. So just below 200 degrees, okay? I think that's where we want to stay at. And you don't need a thermometer to do it, but it does help, all right? So if we can maintain that temperature, I can see it simmering and my water is boiling. I'm going to take my egg, put it right above the water level, and pour it right in, okay? I can see my egg white starting to float to the top already. And that's good. We're at about 190 degrees. Perfect. And we'll do our next one.
So Eric, when I tried this, my egg went all over the place.
Could you speak a little louder? I cannot hear you.
So I tried this last week.
Yeah.
My egg went all over the place. It looked like a mushroom. Was it not hot enough?
I think it wasn't hot enough because right now my whites are floating to the top. and they're floating at this point. I think it wasn't hot enough. We're at about 200 degrees right now. So again, if you were not successful, try again. Because were you able to eat the eggs?
Oh yeah, it was good.
They were good, right? So as long as you're able to eat, it's perfectly fine. And you're doing it's a lesson, okay? And there's a saying in the kitchen, and the saying is you've got to burn to learn. All right? So if you burn something, try again next time. All right, it's still gonna be fine. You can scrape off the burnt part. I have ruined my day over recipes that didn't come out properly. And usually it happens with baking, which we are not going to do in this class. But for something like a poached egg, toss the egg out, get clean water, and start again. If you spend an hour or half hour of your life and $2 on a dozen eggs, you will have perfectly poached eggs at the end of that dozen, okay? So these are looking really good. We're literally at 185, 190 degrees. That is the perfect temperature. Let me turn my heat slightly up. When you add the chilled egg to the water, it will drop that temperature. Now this is going to take about 5 minutes to cook. And the goal is to cook it over medium, which means that the yolk on the outside is set, but the inside of the yolk is still a little bit underdone. That's the perfect way to do poached egg. If you've seen it online and they cut into it with the fork and the yolk spills out, that's what we're looking for. And it's all about touch. And you'll feel it. You'll feel that yolk start to firm up, but the inside be undercooked. And it takes a few times, but you'll feel it when it's hard boiled, and you'll feel it when it's not cooked at all. And you'll feel it right in the middle, and that's what we're looking for. So we're sauteing these vegetables. It's starting to look really, really good. It smells amazing. And I'm going to take a slotted spoon, and we're just going to, these aren't even ready yet, so we're going to put those right back in there. These look great, though. Just give them another 2 minutes or so. If it has a wispy white on it, you can either trim that off or you can fold it over, and it's totally fine with me, whatever you choose to do. Let me grab a bowl for this, because this is a really great meal to serve in a nice bowl like this. Now my water is boiling, so I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit. You kind of have to ride the heat on that one. If it boils, it's going to cook the egg too fast, okay? You want a nice and gentle poach. Looking good. And poaching an egg is really great. Just like hard boiling an egg is really great if you're looking to lead a healthier lifestyle, because you're just saving on the extra oil. We've already added the oil to our hash, so we're just saving again on the calories and extra fat from that little bit of oil that you would fry your eggs in. Saute, everybody. It's as simple as that. Tilt it downwards, pop it up and back, nice and gentle. This is looking really, really good. Now I have a dry rag here, okay? And I'm going to use the dry rag when the eggs come out just to place it right in here. Let it dry off a little bit until it's time to serve. Now we talk about doing a bunch of these beforehand. Another minute on this one. And you can do a bunch of these, take them out and put them in a bowl of cold water or shock them. And if they're a little bit underdone, that's perfect. So they're going to be cooked on the outside but underdone in the middle, and then keep them in the fridge in that water. The next morning, get some water boiling, drop it down to a simmer, and then you can slowly add your eggs to that. Man, this looks great over here. Almost done on that one too. And you could do 20, 30 eggs at once just by reheating the ones you've done the night before. So this is like really, really nice over here. I'm going to take this one out, and I'm just going to fold it over to make a beautiful little poached egg. There we go. Sometimes they don't come out perfect, and that's okay because you can always fold it and cover it up Now, this is a great dish to serve as is. In a fancy restaurant, if I were to serve this, I would definitely do some really, really unhealthy hollandaise on top. But if you want to go simple and healthy, I think that some salsa on top would be really wonderful with this. Let's get this going. We'll give it another minute. Some salsa would be awesome. If you wanted to do a little Parmesan cheese would be really cool. Fresh tomatoes would be a great garnish with some chives. Fresh basil from outside, or again, going in the salsa, you could do some fresh pico de gallo, which would be onions, tomato, little jalapeno, and some lime. And fresh cilantro would be wonderful on this. Whatever direction you're looking on going is perfectly fine with me. Also, if you don't have the sausage and you had some rotisserie chicken, or you had some leftover steak or something, and you just wanted to toss it in there, that would be totally fine too. Really, I want you to use what's in that fridge and make it your own, and that is perfectly fine with me. So this looks really, really wonderful, and I want to taste it for seasoning. All right? So we're just going to taste for seasoning, salt and pepper. It's really hot. So definitely needs a little salt, a little more pepper, and we're going to add a little sweetness. So I'm going to add a very small drizzle of some syrup, just a small drizzle. And this is a great lesson. This is maple syrup, okay? And the difference between maple syrup and pancake syrup is really, really big. Pancake syrup is sugar, which maple syrup is, but it is the high fructose corn syrup and maple flavoring. That's why it costs $3 a jar. This jar costs $12, and it is 100% pure organic maple syrup. So you're paying for a better product, but you're going to get better flavor out of it as well, okay? And we probably added maybe a teaspoon, very, very small amount. Again, we don't want this to be like sweet like a dessert, but we just want to enhance the natural flavors that are already in there. They're very hot. That's okay. I can dig it. So we're going to take a few scoops of this beautiful hash, place it in our bowl. That looks wonderful. And then just take these poached eggs and put them right on top. Again, you can garnish with anything that you like. I like a little pepper for mine. That tastes really, really good. And now we will take a fork, and when we cut into, see if you guys can see that, when we cut into that yolk, we can see that it runs all over. The outside of the yolk is set, and I will show you that actually. I'm going to come really, really close. Let's see if we can show you guys that. A little bright, but I think we can see that in there. There we go. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. You can see the yolk is set, okay? But it still runs, and that's really, really awesome. Very, very cool. So let's turn this up a little bit and get a taste on this. Pull this back. There we go. And let's just taste and see how it all tastes together. Tastes very good together. This is a good breakfast right here. It's a healthy breakfast. It's also very filling. The sweet potatoes are very, very filling. And I found, like I said, with the pasta and sweet potato fries, while I love French fries and I love pasta, I can't eat it all the time because it messes with my belly. That's what happens when you get over 40. And the food that you really like starts messing with you. And I find sweet potatoes, for the money, for the taste, and for everything that it does, to be really, really valuable in my kitchen. So at this point in time, I'd love to know if you all have any questions about what we've done in the past and what we've done today to help you set you up for success in the future. So please ask any question you like. I'm here for you. Anything, guys? You're quite quiet.
I want to know where you get your aprons from.
My aprons. Well, I have some connections in the world. And one connection is at Route 1 Apparel. They're actually up here in Towson where I live. And they've got all the Maryland flag stuff. So I was with them at WBAL News in the city, and they gave me a bunch of cooking stuff that they have. This sweet Old Bay one I got, I believe it's from McCormick. And my friend works for the Maryland Lottery, and she dropped this on me. So that is where I get my very, very flashy aprons from. But yeah, I got people out there. If you do like that Maryland flag stuff, Route 1 Apparel is really cool for that.
Very good, thank you.
My pleasure. What's some more questions? Please speak up so I can hear you.
You had mentioned last time that you can freeze potatoes. How do you do that?
Well, I want you to chop the potatoes, and what you can do from there is you can actually cook them or par cook them, or you can do them raw. And what you want to do is, especially for potatoes, if you want to chop them, put them in like a freezer bag, you've got to get all the air out, okay? So either pressing it down or kind of putting a straw in there to suck the air out is really important because you don't want water or you don't want air to get in there because it will brown the potatoes. Shredded potatoes work really, really well as well. But once you do that, you can put them in that bag in kind of like a single layer and then put them in the freezer and they'll be perfectly ready to rock when you're ready to cook. And onions, carrots, we all had, cooked carrots and stuff like that. All of that will freeze pretty well. Any more questions? Happy to answer them for you. Well, if there aren't any further questions, I would like to give you some more information. Definitely some great tips about cooking this holiday season. And the big thing is preparation and making cooking easy, okay? It is a chore. You do have to do stuff. But if you organize and you shop and you budget properly, it's a whole lot easier than just slapdash throwing things together. So a big thing for me, starting out with recipes that I like, going on the back of the recipe, making my shopping list, also making timelines. So if you've got people coming over, set out a timeline for yourself and really get as detailed or as vague as you like. But setting out a timeline for yourself is really going to help you with success. You know exactly when to do things, okay? So those are very, very big things. Check the sales in your local markets as well. Everything is on sale 4th of July, except crabs. Those are never on sale. But all the vegetables, the corn, the watermelons, everything's going to be on sale. Please look for those lower fat proteins if you can, okay? It's great to have a big fat steak and pork butt and all that stuff, but I'm sure you all have noticed when you eat that stuff, it weighs you down immediately. And I enjoy those types of foods, and I always feel bad the next morning. And I've just noticed if I eat more healthy, the next day I start out moving faster. And it happens when I want ice cream at 10 o'clock at night. It happens when I want to eat a cheesesteak. I play music late at night, and I want to have some food at the end. And I know I shouldn't eat it, but I do it anyways. I feel it the next morning every single time. So just do the best you can to make those smart decisions, the decisions you already know how to make, but you've got to use a little work to make them consistently. We all have to make those decisions, everybody that you know. But also another thing is portion control. When you're at a barbecue and you are eating all the food and you're noshing on this and snacking on that, at the end of the day, you've eaten way more calories than you should have just on the little snacks and the little tastes. Just all I can ask you is to be mindful of that. And then last but not least, water, water, water. Drink water, unsweetened iced tea. If you're going to have a beer, a cocktail, glass of wine, please note that every time you do that, it's an extra 150 to 200 calories that you're adding. So if you are going to indulge, just make sure you're understanding what those calories mean. A margarita is delicious on a hot day. Sangria is awesome, but you're looking at 200 to 250 calories per beverage. And that's for a small one too. So if you can have a couple of those and you can mix it with some iced tea and some water, that's all I'm asking you to do. And be mindful. If there are any further questions, I would be happy to answer those in a moment. If you have any questions, as one of our guests has pointed out, reach out. He reached out on Facebook. Probably took him, maybe an hour or two for me to get back onto him, answer those questions. But I am here for you. And you can contact me at Chef Egg on Facebook and Instagram, or go to chefegg.com. There's a contact button. And if you want to watch some videos and get some cooking ideas, go to cookingwithegg.com. Now, I want to thank Angela for setting all of this up. We've got 2 different groups going. We have, this is the 3rd class. We've had some really big success, but we want to continue that success. So the more questions you have for me, the next class we're going to be doing chicken chili with baked tortillas, which is just a crusher of a meal that everybody loves. Really healthy, very filling, and just really awesome. But we're going to be doing that, and that will be our last class. So if you all have any questions between now and that next class, please do reach out. I am here. I'm here to help you. It is my mission in life, and that's what I love to do. So I'll open up the board. Do we have any questions? Angela, do you have any comments?
Questions? All right. No, I don't think we have any comments. Thank you very much. And I think we'll all go home and try this soon.
It's a good one. I think you'll really enjoy it.
It looks great.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.